November 14th, 2004. Operations Specialist Kevin Day is aboard the missile cruiser USS Princeton when he observes something unusual. His radar picks up multiple anomalous aerial vehicles, craft maneuvering at impossible speeds. He looks out across the ocean to see little dots moving erratically on the horizon. He can't explain what he's seeing, and neither can anyone else. So he orders 2 fighter jets to intercept whatever they're looking at, and what they ended up observing defied all explanation. But what were these craft, and do they help us answer where UFOs really come from? Well, let's look at a couple of these naval encounters because, believe it or not, this isn't the first time they've been seen, and it won't be the last. This scare mail starts right now. The open ocean. The USS Princeton, a missile cruiser part of the USS Nimitz Carrier Strike Group, was about to conduct a training exercise when something extraordinary happened. Senior Chief Kevin Day, an experienced radar operator, was just settling in when mysterious blips appeared on his radar. Whatever they were at altitudes exceeding 80,000 feet. Far beyond the operational ceiling of conventional aircraft. They would then descend at hypersonic speeds, dropping to 20,000 feet in seconds, where they would hover erratically before vanishing or accelerating away faster than any known human craft. The radar signatures were unlike anything Day had ever seen in his career. When he looked out towards the horizon, he could see dots zipping up and down along the water.
If you can imagine a 47-foot-long Tic Tac, they didn't have any wings, they didn't have any propulsion system. They could travel from point A to point B in a matter of a second, even though it was miles and miles and miles away. And if anything biological would have been in that thing, given Newtonian physics, classical physics, it would have turned you into mush.
After multiple occurrences, the Princeton's crew grew increasingly concerned. Were these sensor glitches, experimental drones, or something else entirely? At the same time, 2 F-18 Super Hornets from the Nimitz, piloted by Commander David Fravor and Lieutenant Commander Alex Dietrich, had just taken off to participate in the training exercise when Day called in and diverted them to investigate. As they approached the coordinates provided by the Princeton, the pilots spotted something bizarre. A disturbance in the ocean below, as if a large object were submerged just beneath the surface. Above it hovered a smooth, white, tic-tac-shaped craft, approximately 40 feet long, with no visible wings, rotors, or exhaust plumes. So, Fravor descended in a circular pattern to get a closer look, and as he did, the object appeared to mirror his movements, as if aware of his presence. Then, in an instant, it accelerated at an impossible speed upwards, disappearing from view in a matter of seconds. Back on the Princeton, radar operators were stunned. The object had reappeared 60 miles away in less than a minute, a speed exceeding well over 2,000 miles per hour, far beyond the capabilities of any known aircraft. So a second wave of F-18s, equipped with advanced targeting forward-looking infrared pods, was scrambled onto the scene. And one of these jets captured the now famous Tic Tac video, showing an oblong object moving erratically, with no visible means of propulsion. The footage, later analyzed by intelligence officials, revealed no exhaust signature, no wings, and no conventional flight control of any kind. For years, the incident remained classified, dismissed by some as a sensor malfunction or a misidentified aircraft. But in 2017, the New York Times published a report on the Pentagon's Advanced Aerospace Threat Identification Program, revealing the existence of the Tic Tac video and other UAP encounters. Then, in April of 2020, the US Department of Defense officially released the footage. However, the objects, as they stated, remained unidentified. Now in retirement, Commander Fravor and other witnesses have since come forward and testified before Congress, describing this very object that defied the laws of physics.
So have you formed any general conclusions about what you think you experienced then?
Yes, I think what we experienced was, like I said, well beyond the material science and the capabilities that we had at the time, that we have currently, or that we're going to have in the next 10 to 20 years.
This still remains as one of the most credible UAP encounters in modern history, but it also raises a lot of questions too. Like, how is it controlled? What are its limits? And most importantly, where the hell did it come from? Well, we'd get a better idea of all of those things when another carrier came across something similar. Nearly a decade and a half after the USS Nimitz incident, the USS Theodore Roosevelt and those on it saw something eerily reminiscent. Once again, US Navy pilots encountered UAP exhibiting what they explained as baffling flight characteristics, but now with even more urgency, because these objects weren't just flying nearby, they were interfering with training operations, nearly causing mid-air collisions. At the center of these encounters were Lieutenant Ryan Graves and Lieutenant Danny Aucoin, seasoned fighter pilots who, along with their squadron, began reporting near daily sightings of strange, cube-shaped objects hovering in restricted airspace off the East Coast. Now, unlike the Tic Tac, these UAP appeared translucent or dark gray, with, again, no visible propulsion, yet capable of hypersonic speeds and instantaneous acceleration. And one of the most compelling pieces of evidence from these encounters was the Go Fast video, captured by Graves' squadron using the same system that recorded the Nimitz's footage.
Nickel 6-1 Tango, Roger, over.
Oh, got it! Woohoo!
Roger, there's troubleshooting as soon as I
Did you box moving target?
602.
No, I took an auto track. Oh, okay. Oh my gosh, dude. Wow, look at
The video shows an object moving at high speeds just above the ocean's surface. Yet, the infrared tracking system picks up no discernible heat signature, something seemingly impossible for any known aircraft. Graves later testified that these UAP would hold station against 120-knot winds, then accelerate in ways that defied inertia. Even more alarming, pilots reported near misses with these supposed craft, forcing them to abort multiple training missions. The situation became so concerning that senior Navy officials debated shutting down operations in the area, which highlighted just how serious the situation had become. And with rapidly growing concern among officials, the severity of the encounters reached the highest levels of the Pentagon. Rear Admiral Timothy Gallaudet, a former oceanographer of the Navy and deputy administrator of the NOAA, later came forward with surprising revelations. In congressional hearings and interviews, Gallaudet confirmed that senior Navy leadership had exchanged urgent emails about the UAP, not only expressing frustration over the lack of urgency, but the lack of answers.
During this exercise, I received an email on Navy's secure network from the operations officer of U.S. Fleet Forces Command. The email was addressed to all the subordinate commanders, and the subject line read in all capital letters, "Urgent Safety of Flight Issue." The text of the email was brief but alarming, with words to the effect, "If any of you know what these are, tell me ASAP. We are having multiple near mid-air collisions, and if we do not resolve this soon, we are going to have to shut down the exercise."
This admission was staggering. It confirmed that the UAP were not just anomalies, but even operational hazards, forcing the military to consider halting multi-billion-dollar training missions due to safety risks. And this wasn't specific to the USS Theodore either. If you remember, something similar happened in the Nimitz encounter when Fravor and Dietrich were both pulled from their exercise to investigate. So, one thing's for sure, these UAP have been causing problems, physical and financial problems. And yet, we know next to nothing about them. Or do we? So, what do we know about these craft? Well, they were clearly different, but there were similarities. For starters, they had advanced propulsion, capabilities beyond any of our known technology. They had no physical exhaust or flight surfaces, meaning whatever they were, they do not obey the laws of physics. They're practically a cheat code. Next, we had both radar tracking and pilot testimony with visuals. Oh, and we had near collisions prompting military concern in both instances. But most importantly, both cases take place above the open ocean. These craft were reported to move in and out of the water with no issue, which begs the question, are the mysterious UAPs we see in the sky at night UFOs or USOs out for a stroll? That's a question we need to start asking ourselves, because the truth is, we know more about space than we do the sea. In fact, reports show that only 26% of the seafloor has been mapped. Everything else is a mystery. That means that nearly 75% of the ocean and its depths are unknown to us. So what else could be lurking down there? There could be underwater bases or even lost cities we've never even known about. Or do we know about them? Because when the UAP video taken from the Nimitz was shown to naval officers and superiors, they all had the same reaction. They looked to each other, remained silent, and walked away. This kind of reaction leads to two possibilities. Either they're ours and they don't want you to know about it, or they're not, and they don't want you to know about it. Either way, you're expected to sit back, shut up, and ignore anything you see with your very own eyes. That's the military special, all right. Hyper-focus on the weak threats, ignore the ones that aren't. It's why it's so refreshing that someone like Gallaudet finally came forward and blew the whistle on the whole thing. There had been whispers about it before, but now there's actual talk. And even though the disclosure movement is moving at a snail's pace, we are learning more and more every day about what's really out there. And maybe even where they're coming from. Because the truth is, these kinds of UFO sightings are far from over. In fact, I'd say it's just the beginning, because now our eyes aren't just fixed on the skies anymore. They're fixed on the water, too. Thanks for watching, and yep, knew that one was coming. 1 second. You're on speakerphone.
Wait, that's it. You're not going to investigate anything? No opinions? No shill?
Not needed. I actually think the witness testimonies and the evidence speaks for itself. Plus, I had to keep this episode a little short since I'm going to the beach tomorrow.
Ha, funny. Make an episode about ocean UFOs and then say you're going to the beach. I like it. Really immersive storytelling.
Well, I'm actually going to the beach, though, so...
Wait, you actually go on vacation?
Well, yeah, why wouldn't I?
It's just that, you talk about aliens for a living. I didn't expect you to have much of a social life. Like, are you saying you actually have friends? Besides me, of course.
You see, comments like that are why we're not really friends. Enjoy my voicemail for the next few days.
Wait.
What? What is it now? I really have to get packing.
You should stage a USO sighting while you're at the beach, and we can post about it on YouTube and TikTok.
No.
Oh, come on. You can even use AI for it. Make it look real legit, huh?
Goodbye, Mib.
Send me pictures.